When you read Psalm 91, you are not just reading words on paper. You're stepping into a divine covenant, a spiritual fortress built by God himself. This psalm isn't a poem to make you feel better. It's a declaration of power, a promise of supernatural protection that becomes active the moment you believe it. It begins with, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." That verse alone is a call to live differently. To live not in fear, but in faith, not in anxiety, but in absolute confidence that God's covering is over you. The secret place isn't a location. It's a relationship. It's that daily connection, that moment of surrender where your heart aligns with heaven and your trust shifts from human strength to divine power. We live in a world filled with fear. Fear of sickness, loss, failure, rejection. But Psalm 91 stands as a divine counterattack to every lie of fear. It tells you that you don't have to live scared because you're covered. When the psalm says, "Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence," it's speaking directly to the traps set against your destiny. Unseen dangers, spiritual attacks, and hidden agendas that try to derail your life. But here's the truth: what God covers, no enemy can uncover. What he shields, no darkness can touch. Think about this. Every time you walk into uncertainty, God's presence walks with you. Every step you take under his shadow is a step covered in grace. You're not exposed to chance. You're protected by covenant. When fear whispers, "What if I fail?" faith replies, "Even if I stumble, I fall under the wings of the Almighty." That's the power of dwelling, staying rooted in his presence, no matter the chaos around you. The psalm says, "He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge." That's the language of a father, not a distant deity, but a loving protector. Tony Robbins often says that power comes from emotion, not logic. And Psalm 91 is filled with divine emotion. It's God's passion to protect his people. He's not just watching from afar, he's actively commanding his angels concerning you. When you walk through the valley of danger, they walk with you. When you sleep at night, they stand guard. When attacks come from the left or the right, his promise is that 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. That's not a metaphor. That's spiritual reality. The only question is, will you believe it? Belief is what activates protection. You can't recite Psalm 91 like a charm and expect change. You've got to own it. Speak it with conviction. Declare it like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. When you start believing that God is your refuge and fortress, fear loses its grip on you. You walk with a different posture. You talk with confidence. You stop begging for safety and start declaring it. You don't run from the storm. You walk through it knowing heaven backs you up. There will be moments when life shakes you, when sickness hits, when finances collapse, when people walk away. But in those moments, Psalm 91 reminds you that divine protection isn't the absence of problems. It's the assurance that no problem can destroy you. You might bend, but you won't break. You might cry, but you won't collapse, because the Almighty himself has declared, "Because he loves me, I will rescue him, I will protect him. For he acknowledges my name." Those words are personal. They are God's direct promise to anyone who chooses to trust him completely. Let that sink in. Because he loves me, not because he's perfect, not because he never fails, but because he loves me. That's all God needs to move on your behalf. Love and trust. When your heart is anchored in him, fear cannot stay. The world may change, but his covering never will. When you wake up, he's there. When you go out, he's there. When you fight battles no one sees, he's there. Psalm 91 becomes more than a chapter. It becomes your spiritual armor, your invisible shield that moves with you through life's chaos. So today, make a decision. Don't just visit the secret place, dwell there. Don't just read Psalm 91, live it. Speak it over your family, your home, your business, your future. Declare, "No evil will conquer me, no plague will come near my dwelling, for the Lord is my refuge and my fortress." Feel the power of those words. Let them become your reality. Because when you live under his shadow, you live beyond fear. When you trust his wings, no weapon can reach you. When you stand in his promise, you stand unshakable. That's what Psalm 91 is. It's not just a shield of protection. It's a declaration of dominion. You're not just surviving under God's protection. You're thriving under his authority. Walk with that confidence. Speak with that authority. And let every part of your life reflect the truth that you are covered, protected, and surrounded by the Almighty himself. Psalm 23 is not just a prayer, it's a journey. It's the cry of a soul that has learned to trust the shepherd even when the path gets dark. When David wrote, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," he wasn't speaking from comfort. He was speaking from experience. He had faced fear, hunger, rejection, and danger, yet he found peace in one truth. When the Lord leads, Lack loses its power. This psalm isn't about having everything. It's about realizing that when you walk with the shepherd, you already have everything that truly matters. It's about divine prosperity, not just money, but wholeness, peace, and purpose. We live in a world obsessed with chasing more success, more possessions, more validation. But Psalm 23 flips the thinking on its head. It says, you don't chase abundance, you follow the shepherd and abundance follows you. When God leads, he provides. When you surrender control, he opens doors you didn't even know existed. Prosperity begins the moment you stop striving and start trusting. When the psalm says, he makes me lie down in green pastures, he leads me beside still waters. It's showing us that God's prosperity brings peace, not pressure. Real success is not just having full hands, but a full heart, a heart at rest in the shepherd's care. Tony Robbins often says that life changes when you shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. Psalm 23 is God's original abundance mindset. It's a declaration that your source is not your job, not your bank account, not your connections. Your source is your shepherd. He knows where to lead you, when to restore you, and how to protect you. When David said, he restores my soul, it was more than poetry. It was transformation. God doesn't just fill your wallet, he fills your spirit. He takes the broken parts of your heart and breathes life back into them. He turns your pain into peace, your exhaustion into renewal. That's prosperity. When your soul is so full that nothing external can shake your internal joy. Then David says, he leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. That's divine direction. The kind that takes you to success without losing your soul. When God directs your path, every step you take carries his purpose. Even when life throws you into the valley, the dark moments, the betrayals, the failures, he walks with you there. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Notice that David didn't say he stayed in the valley. He said he walked through it. That's what happens when God leads. You don't get stuck in your pain, you move through it. Fear may whisper, but faith keeps walking. There's something deeply powerful about knowing you're not alone. When you know the shepherd is beside you, fear loses its voice. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. That means God not only protects you, he also guides you. His rod defends, his staff directs. Even in uncertainty, his hand is steady. That's why prosperity under God's leadership is safe, because he blesses you with boundaries. He doesn't just give, he guards. He doesn't just promote, he preserves. Then David shifts the scene. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Imagine that. God doesn't remove your enemies, he blesses you in front of them. That's not just protection, that's demonstration. Divine prosperity isn't quiet. It's visible proof that God's favor rests on your life. Your success becomes your testimony. Your peace becomes your weapon. And when he anoints your head with oil, your cup doesn't just fill, it overflows. That's what happens when you walk with the shepherd. Blessings spill over into every area of your life. But here's the real secret. This prosperity isn't about what you have, it's about who you're following. When you chase God, goodness and mercy start chasing you. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. That means no matter where you go, in failure or victory, in pain or joy, his goodness doesn't quit on you. His mercy doesn't let you go. You can lose everything else and still be rich if you have his presence. Because prosperity isn't measured in possessions, it's measured in peace. And then comes the final declaration, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's the ultimate prosperity, eternal connection. When you live close to God, you live above lack. When you walk with him daily, even storms turn into stepping stones. You realize that true wealth is being guided, guarded, and grounded in his love. So take this psalm personally. Let it shape your mindset. Let it remind you that the same God who led David from the wilderness to the throne can lead you from scarcity to abundance, from chaos to peace, from fear to fulfillment. You don't have to fight for what's already yours. You just have to follow the shepherd. And when you do, you'll see that Psalm 23 isn't just a passage. It's a lifestyle, a life of divine guidance, overflowing peace, and unstoppable prosperity. Psalm 121 is the song of a soul that refuses to look down in despair. It looks up in faith. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? That question isn't one of doubt, but a discovery. It's the turning point where human strength ends and divine help begins. When David wrote these words, he was surrounded by uncertainty and danger, yet he made a powerful decision. As I will lift my eyes, that's where the miracle begins, in the decision to look up when everything around you tries to pull you down. This psalm is a reminder that real strength doesn't come from people, power, or possessions. It comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. We live in a world where people are desperate for help, emotional help, financial help, spiritual help. Everyone is looking somewhere, to friends, to family, to systems, to success. But Psalm 121 tells us that the only unfailing source of help is God himself. He is not a backup plan, he's the foundation. When you realize that, you stop chasing temporary solutions and start standing in eternal security. When David said, "My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth," he was reminding himself, if God made the heavens, if he designed the earth, surely he can handle what I'm going through. The creator of galaxies is not too weak to guide your next step. Tony Robbins often says that clarity is power, and this psalm gives you spiritual clarity. It tells you where to focus. Stop looking at the size of the mountain, look at the strength of your God. The moment you shift your focus upward, faith rises, fear breaks, and hope breathes again. God never promised that life would be free of challenges, but he promised his help would never fail. When the psalm says, "He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber," it's saying that God's protection is 24/7. He doesn't sleep, he doesn't forget, and he doesn't overlook you. Even when you think he's silent, he's still watching. Even when you feel abandoned, he's working behind the scenes. Divine help doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's the quiet guidance that keeps you from falling apart. Think about that for a second. The God of the universe watching you. Every step, every tear, every sleepless night, he sees it all. And while the world might forget, he never does. The psalm continues, "The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand." That means God stands close, not distant, not far away in the clouds. He's right beside you, shielding you from what you cannot see. The heat of stress, the glare of pressure, the sting of fear. He covers you through it all. That's divine help. It's not always about removing the heat. Sometimes it's about providing shade in it. When the psalm says, "The sun shall not harm you by day, nor the moon by night," it's painting a picture of complete protection. Physical, emotional, and spiritual. God doesn't just protect your body, he guards your peace. He shields your mind from anxiety, your heart from despair, your spirit from fatigue. Life will test you, but this psalm reminds you that God's help is greater than any threat. The enemy can plan, but God can prevent. Situations can rise, but his presence stabilizes you. And then comes one of the most powerful promises ever spoken. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore. That's not a seasonal promise. That's eternal. It means his help isn't temporary, it's timeless. It follows you into every season, every decision, every battle. When you go out to face the world, he goes before you. When you come home in awareness, he surrounds you. He guards your today, secures your tomorrow, and redeems your past. Psalm 121 is more than comfort, it's confidence. It tells you that you don't walk alone, even when the journey feels long and uphill. Divine help keeps you moving. It's the unseen hand that steadies you when life shakes you. It's the inner peace that whispers, "You're not done yet. Keep climbing." Every time you lift your eyes and say, "My help comes from the Lord," you're declaring war on fear, doubt, and weakness. You're reminding your soul that heaven backs you up. So when you feel overwhelmed, lift your eyes. When you're uncertain about your future, lift your eyes. When you feel like you're losing control, lift your eyes. Because the one who made the mountains also made the way through them. He doesn't just watch from above. He walks with you, works for you, and fights beside you. Divine help isn't something you wait for, it's something you walk in. And the beauty of Psalm 121 is that it doesn't end with a question, it ends with assurance. It starts with, "Where does my help come from?" but ends with, "The Lord will watch over you." That's the journey of faith, from uncertainty to unshakable confidence. The same God who helped David on the battlefield, who lifted Joseph from prison to palace, who carried Ruth from loss to legacy, that same God is watching over you right now. So take courage. You're not alone, and you're not forgotten. Your help doesn't come from what you see, it comes from who he is. Keep your eyes lifted, your faith grounded, and your heart anchored in his promise. Because when your help comes from the Lord, no mountain is too high, no valley too deep, and no situation too hopeless. The maker of heaven and earth has already set his eyes on you, and his help never fails.